So I think Crossway Schools learning community has been something we've built over about 6 years now, I think, through networking, through talking to people, through trying things, through inviting people up to lovely Lake District, which is always an advantage and a disadvantage because it's so far from everywhere. But also by utilising contacts we have. So it was a case of back in 2017, before we built a learning community, there's no point in doing anything until you've got your infrastructure and your devices and all that CPD alongside it as well. But as part of that CPD, we actively sought out people that went above and beyond to stay involved and help with the school and things. And I mean, our original Google trainer, Pete Rafferty, as you know, is still working with us 6 years on. So it's not like we've ticked a box and moved on. We've got like-minded people who collaborate with us, who connect to us and help us connect with other people, and to actually work together to consider what's the aims of all the stuff we do as well.
You invest heavily in people, and as a result, people stay, and then you get the consistency and the reliability, and you get that evolution that happens from people being in place and learning and growing with you.
Absolutely. I mean, we'd never had any problems with people saying, "Oh, we're not on board with this." I hear of schools, people are afraid of technology.
Yeah,
we had some that were afraid of technology, but they were given the CPD, they were given the support, and not just courses, do these courses or work with this person. We did it in class as well. So we hired CPD, again, the same Google trainer, to work with the class teacher for a few days in person. So we did the whole staff training, we did the courses, we did all that, but we did the in-person training as well.
I'd call that more support, because you have the training, but then you have someone who sits alongside and rides shotgun with you, and I think
support, bouncing off ideas off each other.
And
I mean, we'd looked at Google, Microsoft and Apple as part of the original journey. I went with Google because it was at the time it was available on any platform. Chromebooks are very good devices, but I mean, we've now got kids in year 5, 6 or even year 3, 4 who, because they've been using it since reception, because we start our technology in early years, our digital technology and computing in early years, they could quite comfortably pass the Google level 1 courses as were, and other things, and do, they train ITT students in it. They train schools in Norway on using it with patience that I wish I had. When you listen to them, they are amazing. But I think there's this, what bugs me about most levels of education and things in this country is that they don't seem to accept that primary kids have these skills and knowledge, but these primary skills, that they're growing up with it now, Ian. They're given a device at 2 by families now.
But it's not, and I think we've got to accept that this doesn't happen by osmosis.
No.
And it was clear to me when I did the afternoon with all the Key Stage 2 and it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
They were all comfortable in solving problems and working it out. And for 2 hours, they concentrated using the device, but it was the device to support the questions we were trying to answer. And so that level of skill where you use the device as appropriate with choice, that is incredible.
Well, I mean, that goes back to a school we visited in Wales. I took Jess, one of my teachers, and we went to Cornish Park School, the digital competence framework in Wales. I mean, and I know Wales is way ahead of England because it's not fractured as England is as a education system and things. But we saw that digital competence framework. We walked in every class. Kids could choose what device, what software on that device they felt was best for the task. So not only was it embedding digital skills, it was creating independent thinkers, it was creating problem solvers. It was obviously well embedded. It's obviously well supported in Wales, but the teachers, less marking, so there's additional boxes that tick it for education system here. And I mean, to be honest, any school that doesn't promote digital skills, education technology across the school is doing their children a huge disservice, because it is the most important thing these kids need, I would argue, after the basic maths and English skills, for their education nowadays. Find me a job that doesn't use it.
And we've got to accept as well that Wales hasn't got 100% adoption. You know,
No,
it's
no.
on a journey, and that's what we talked about yesterday. And we need to, shine a light on the beacons. We need to sort of work out what the bright spots are and celebrate that. And that's why I wanted to do what I did yesterday. Wanted to make sure other people are aware, and they also can see what's possible. You know?
I mean, the whole concept of 100% acceptance,
Yeah.
I'm never clear on what that means.
Mm.
Wales will be further ahead than England. I would never want to see the same schools doing the same thing. I like that innovation and different approaches and different. I think the biggest problem with England is this one size fits all approach to assessment and to curriculum and to inspection. Well, it's nonsense. Because you need those different schools. You need to allow those different schools to flourish, whether it's adopting digital tech or other aspects of education. But this, 100% adoption. Will we ever get there? I don't know.
Well, I think also that the reason why I used the term developing digital from the start is because I don't think you do ever get there. I suppose there is a plateau where you get to, and I think one of the things that you've developed is a culture where there's an acceptance there will be change and there will be conversations and people can feed back and I think it's in that culture where you are developing digital that empowers everyone to say, I like this, I don't like this, can we improve this? And it builds reflective practice, which is what we want.
It is, and I think it's been interesting over the past 2-3 years. We've tried out a lot of things. Generally, if it's a software or a hardware thing, we say to the kids who are the users, what do you think? It would be very rare that we overrule them. It would be very rare that we actually adopt too many new things. So occasionally something will come along like Wakelet, love it. So we've used that in the past. We don't use it regularly, but it's a brilliant resource. Something will come along like ThingLink.
Yeah.
Cheap as cheap, brilliant stuff. We don't use it anywhere near as much as we should because time is a big issue in England. The curriculum's that stuffed. But I think that sort of approach to trying things and only adopting them if they're useful is a key driver, because you can do things for the sheer hell of doing them. A lot of people do sometimes. Ticking a box. I'm not interested in ticking boxes.
Well, there's this concept of digital intelligence, and it's quite a complex concept, and I think I've mentioned it before. But the idea is, for me, it's about making choices, and digital is a thing that is ubiquitous, and there are pros and cons of using it, and you have to work out when it's the most invaluable thing, and when there's an alternative, you use the alternative, because we need variety in what we're doing.
The kids are the best at the game. We do regular surveys and things, and sometimes we'll say, can we do some handwriting? We want to write this. And then when you did the other day on the AI story writing, I forget what the program was.
It was the AI Dungeon.
AI Dungeons, and one of them said it's a great starting point for ideas. And I thought, brilliant. You're not going to rely on it, but you can go to it and say, I'm a bit stuck here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And comes out with some ideas to get the creative juices flowing again. But at no point did any of them say, I could just do this for my work, because they've quickly grasped that actually it's there to help you, but it's not going to replace you, right? You can't replace the creativity of individuals.
And there's a lot of fears at the moment, but I think if in a school like yours, the kids are discerning, and they don't want to cheat on a homework just to get it in, because there's this huge fear that that's what's going to happen. And if everyone's involved in this and have proper conversations, because the kids in your school and the teachers know the kids.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's this fundamental relationships that everyone's worried about policies and boundaries and cheating but if you know your kids.
I think you've nailed education there for me, because I attend lots of things, whether it's Fed stuff or chartered college stuff, or you see online things and all this talk about pedagogy. Some of it is brilliant stuff, but actually, if you've got those relationships right in your school, everything else will follow much easier. So whatever your pedagogical approach, whether your traditional or progressive approach, doesn't matter. If you haven't got those relationships, it's going to be 10 times harder.
Well, I think it's just one step further than that. If you've got those relationships, then the magic happens in that experience. And there was loads of moments for me in that afternoon I spent with those kids that I felt I had a connection with those kids. And I saw some of them the next day after the play, when the play was outstanding, right? I saw some of them, and that connection, even after 2 visits, that connection was starting to build. And that if you work with that connection and know that young person, the work you can do to help them on their learning journey is immense. And that's your thing. That's your learning community. That's what you've achieved.
I think our thing is we get kids coming to us, and once they come, they stay. But when they move into the area, year 1, year 2, we've had kids come that won't speak. But over the years, all the opportunities they get, and that time they leave year 5, 6, they are very confident individuals. So anybody that comes into school is going to get talked to quite confidently and happily and maturely as well. And that's our biggest thing here. So, I mean, presenting on stage at BET for a little country school or speaking to MPs, they're brilliant kids, but it's because they get all those opportunities and they get that independence. But we do everything. I mean, we do all this tech stuff. Safety is always front of it. You've got to be very aware of it. And I think that's the big thing about AI. You've referenced it. It's blown education out of the water. Listening to people talk about 10-year plans this week, I'm thinking in the last 3 months, what you've come up with has just been absolutely blown out of the water in a brilliant way, but also in a terrifying way.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that's going to be responsible for safe use of AI is education, modeling and teaching pupils of all ages that actually this is responsible use. I don't care who regulates it, business, government wise, the biggest thing will be the educators teaching that responsible use.
Yeah, and also, if you've got a position like you have, that you have a culture where people will say, I'm challenged by this, or kids will say, I don't like it, or is this cheating? Am I allowed to? And all that. But if you've got an open culture that people are happy to have a conversation, then you can solve those problems. It's when you don't have those relationships, that's when you have to put the policies, that's when it all changes.
It came up in Ofsted, bizarrely, because Ofsted has gone, I don't think Ofsted is fit for the purpose of the recording. This whole abolish Ofsted movement, I know, there's got to be some accountability, but actually Ofsted said, how do you assess the kids? Well, we know the kids, we talk to the kids, and that message was across the school and from the kids as well. The staff talk to us, and that relationships, and Ofsted's like, yeah, you know your kids, that's it, you know your children. And that's the most powerful thing you've got, whatever your spreadsheets or tracking software, whatever you use. And we don't use a lot because we know our children, each and every single one of them, which may be easier in a smaller school. I don't know. I wouldn't go near a big school anymore. There's only 100 kids, but different challenges and different size schools. But we know all our kids very, very well.
I know, but there must be ways of scaling.
Absolutely.
Right? There must be ways of scaling that take on that fundamental thing, that if our role is to monitor and to enhance and enrich the learning journey and the progress of young people, right? If that's what it's about, and it's clearly what you do when you look at the whole kid, as you've just said, if that's what it is, then all we need to do is find a mechanism to build those relationships. And whether we use AI and whether we use technology, if Catherine said this yesterday, if we put people first in all the ways we make decisions, so it's put the relationship first, then everything else just supports that.
I mean, the issue to me is politicians. And people with vested interests and things, because I think if you left schools to do it, schools would gradually find their way there in their own way. But again, that one size fits all, no, you can't have a one size fits all, because everyone's neurodiverse, everyone's individual. It doesn't, we've got a third fail in SATs, we've got a third fail in GCSEs. We know the current system doesn't work. We've got a hell of an opportunity now with AI to change things. And my issue is that the politicians will get hold of it and say, yes, we'll do a new curriculum. It'll be released in 2028. You're thinking, well, that's probably quick to them, but plan something now to release in 2028. The speed of change now, nonsense, absolute nonsense. Be woefully.
But you won't do that because you're on it now.
Well, we've made a conscious decision to embed, if you like, AI across the curriculum next year. Not quite sure what that's going to look like. Had a chat with somebody who's looking at Bard and how we can use it in school as part of an API. Had a few chats about other companies that want an education version of OpenAI, but nothing that strikes me as particularly good at the moment. The staff have just been using ChatGPT for writing reports.
Yeah. Because
obviously, if you taught a child for 4 years, it's very tricky to write that report differently in some ways because it's the same personality and things. So they've been, giving ChatGPT the role of the teacher, giving them some information and asking them to phrase things differently and give them a starting point. Yeah. But yeah, I've got some stuff from Dan Fitzpatrick. As you know, we've done some stuff with Dan, and he put a little framework out somewhere, and I've got it. And I've messaged him, do you mind if I develop this? And we'll get some little strands built in, and it'll just be adopting things where it's useful. And it might be in English that we are using the story writing thing to give us some starting points. It might be in English that we are just going to discuss ethics of AI, and we have our debating topics and things like that.
Yeah.
But when people reference things like the worry of cheating, if they think cheating doesn't happen now and that people aren't writing essays for people, then they are so naive. It's been going on forever.
And also there's an opportunity to work with parents in the same way. Yeah. Because parents will be concerned, and I think you've got quite a good relationship with your parents, haven't you?
It'll be interesting, our parents, yes, because they're very good parents, they're very supportive. The kids taught them how to use Google Workspace in lockdowns and things like that, so they all came back in a bit, and the staff met them virtually every day and things. But the AI thing, I think they'd be quite right to be wary of it. But I think my big concern with parents is the kids are so knowledgeable on tech. There's nothing to stop these kids signing up for an OpenAI ChatGPT account now.
No, of course
because
not.
until you have to present a passport or driver's license, there's absolutely nothing. They're so competent.
Yeah, of course.
So all we can do is teach them to be safe about it, really. But
yeah, and I think if we do a combination of learning, where kids can learn alongside teachers, and I've got some useful resources that might help you with that, and as we said, might be useful to talk about that when things settle down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do in schools. We're looking at, because you don't do data science in schools at all, and we have no actual real understanding, me included, me especially, of data analysis, true data analysis.
Yeah.
And you think, actually, all this stuff we're doing, planting outside and growing in the polytunnels and the Princess Trust links and the school farm, there's an opportunity there to get some proper data science in as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's not groundbreaking stuff, but for the National Curriculum England, it's really forward thinking.
It is.
And
we're
it's
hoping,
more relevant.
Yeah, we're hoping to push that in Wales. I've been working with capturing data and data science and data visualization and all that. And that's the stuff I'm doing with Cat Place at the moment down in the school. Yeah. So we're doing a project on that. And it'd be quite interesting to look at what you would need. So what we did there is we talked about healthy environments and healthy environments for learning. And so we asked the kids what they wanted, and the kids guided us. If we could do a similar thing with you, where we say to the kids, we get a small group of representative kids who can then talk to others and talk to the teachers. And we say, what is it that you think we could benefit from, and bounce a few ideas, and then you form a little project around that.
In terms of the actual physical learning environment, you mean?
Yeah. And, but the thing is, your physical learning environment, it's almost, from my point of view, it's almost perfect.
But we've just changed it. So in the next month or two, our year 5-6 classroom, which is the room we had Dan Fitzpatrick in, is becoming a therapeutic classroom with Shahana Knight. So it's much calmer environment, more grown-up tables and chairs, comfy chairs, less distractions on the wall. And we're quite interested in how the kids react to that, because they're all very excited about it, and they said it'll be much easier to work in things. But to compare that traditional classroom in this school, then compare it to the ones in Wales as well, would be quite interesting. and might get some very different answers as well.
Yeah, and it'd be good. It might not, for me, it's all about trying to look at developing the conversations, and I'm really happy to facilitate that. I think it'd be good to sort of pull this to an end now. One thing I mentioned the learning community. Clearly, you've nailed that, and you've nailed that with the culture. But the thing I'm interested in also is what messages are you going to be giving, perhaps to the staff, perhaps to the students, and also perhaps to the parents about what message can you say? Look, AI is here, generative AI, and all this stuff is here. And what's the message you're going to be saying to actually calm them so we can get on with the important job? Because education is not about AI. Education is about relationships. So we said, what you're going to be saying to them.
I think to me, education is about relationships, but it's about preparing them for the future as well.
Yeah.
In England, there's no acceptance that primary school is part of that at any official level. You don't get a careers week in primary school, but actually then you look at the forward thinking, very successful countries like Estonia, it starts when they're 3 years old, the adoption of digital tech, because it's a digital future we're going into. This is the fourth industrial revolution. There's no two ways about it. So to me, it's about actually, we're going to prepare your kids for the future, because the speed of change is so fast that actually, if we were not to teach them about X, Y, and Z now in primary school, they're going to go to secondary school and be way behind, because secondary school aren't going to cover it either with the national curriculum. So actually, we're giving them opportunity to be prepared for a future which the standard education isn't going to do, and we're going to actually make them a lot safer by doing it as well, because a big part of what we're teaching them is to be safe online and to be safe with their own data and be aware of it as well. I mean, just that basic awareness of actually, if you put something onto the internet, it's gone, it's there for life. So be very, very careful what you share. But I think
you're making them independent learners, and you're making them discerning, and you're making them digitally intelligent.
Digitally intelligent, initiative.
Yeah.
Big thing since COVID, got even worse. So that whole initiative of what it's your thing, you go and do it. Can't be wrong. You choose it. That independent problem solving, critical thinking, so much more important than much of the national curriculum at primary and secondary level. And when you look at businesses, and we do, when we talk to some, and what they're asking for in future employees,
of course,
there's no GCSE grade C English maths requirement anymore. It's ridiculous. But they want people that can actually think for themselves, that can collaborate. And that's what I'm keen to promote. And if it gets me in trouble with our SATS results or with Ofsted in the future, I genuinely couldn't give them monkeys.
But it won't, because if you...
No, I don't think so.
If you develop independent learning and curiosity and a desire to do well, and everyone wants to do well, there is no child will ever say, I really want to do badly.
Oh, they love it. They absolutely love it.
So and it all comes down to efficacy. If they think they can do that and they're empowered to do that, they'll do it. And you won't have to worry about the results, because the results will look after themselves.
And the results. They didn't pass the spelling and grammar test. I won't swear, but you just think, well, secondary, don't worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. And somebody in 6 years turns up from Ofsted to pick at those results, then so be it. Nobody's going to listen. But it's changing. At the speed of changing is what gets me. You've got to get on board now, and you've got to try and do it properly. Because if you wait another year, it's terrifying the amount of stuff that's coming out, but it's also absolutely brilliant the amount of stuff that's coming out. And the speed, when you look at Midjourney, the speed of development in Midjourney from January to the quality of the graphics now. In a year's time, will we need film stars? This is the sort of speed we're looking at now.
We'll need film stars that are comfortable with AI and can manage that. That's what we need. And like at that exercise we did with the kids about, what will your job look like?
Jobs of the future,
Jobs of the future. That was brilliant. And the conversations we had with the farmers, because you've got quite a lot of farmers.
Quite a lot of farmers. That's changed over the years. They used to have farmers 10 years ago. They don't need to read. They don't need this. And now the farmers have to submit everything through Excel. So they know that they need the digital skills. So they're quite on board.
But they were all, it said that farmers, 76% of farmers might be challenged with their job. But we went back to that idea that if you're a farmer that's using AI and using robots and digitally ready to embrace all the change that will come, those farmers are obviously not going to lose their job.
No, it's going to be a different job. Some jobs will be different. Some jobs will be gone. Some jobs will be replaced by AI. But I mean, I suppose that brings us back to the whole part of it. It's about preparing the kids to know this.
Yeah.
Because there's no point training to be this role if there's not going to be a need for that role in 10 years' time. Because you're going to have to start again.
That's amazing.
It's great stuff out there. It's great stuff. It's just
and it's really good to work with you. And one of the things we were saying yesterday at our round table, you know, there are some wonderful conversations happening, and it's great how I'm personally feeling very aligned to a lot of people. A lot of people are saying the same as us about relationship as being the fundamental thing, and I feel that I'm growing a gang or a group of people that I've got similar aspirations with. And that's really exciting, because I think if we can collaborate and support each other and consolidate this, I think we get a chance then, because it's not going to come top down.
Yep.
We get a chance then to shine a light on the work we're doing, and then change will happen. Has to happen.
You don't want it to come from the top down, because that would slow things down and it will be imposed on you.
You'll have to do it.
And it would be a one size fits all imposition on the education system. We don't want that.
That's great. Absolutely great. And great to chat to you as always.
No, thanks again. Kids are asking when you're coming back to the next session, by the way.